Hello and welcome to Trusty Chords, the podcast which aims to celebrate music and those that create it. If there's one thing you need to know about Joyce Manor, it's that every time they release a new album, their fans are in for a good time. In fact, I've been saying that for well over a decade now, having followed the Californian outfit since the release of their second album, Of All Things I Will Soon Grow Tired, back in 2012. In the time since, they've released 4 more albums, a few more split EPs, myriad singles and music videos, and toured the world on numerous occasions. Not bad for a little group that kicked off rather quietly back in 2008. Now, 18 years into their storied career, Joyce Manor are back with their latest album, I Used to Go to This Bar. For diehard fans of the group, it's exactly what you want out of a record from Joyce Manor, with that frenetic sense of energy and power being paired with their stellar lyrics and inimitable knack for writing a killer tune. This week, I was lucky enough to have a chat with not just one, but all 3 members of Joyce Manor, with Matt Ebert, Barry Johnson, and Chase Knobbe joining for what may actually be my favourite episode I've recorded to date. Anyway, I'll let you be the judge of that from a listener's perspective, so in the meantime, have a listen to Joyce Manor's I Used to Go to This Bar, have a listen to our chat, and I'll see you at the end of the episode for some general housekeeping. Matt, Barry, and Chase from Joyce Manor, thank you very much for joining this episode of the Trusty Chords podcast.
Anytime.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. Now, I'm very stoked to have you guys on this podcast because I think I've been following Joyce Manor since, I want to say 2012. I think it was when Asian Man Records alerted me to the newly stocked Of All Things I'll Soon Grow Tired record. So it's been very nice sort of watching you guys grow over the past, what is it now, 14 years or so? Does it feel weird it's been that, well, it's been even longer than that. Does it feel weird it's been sort of this long of making music for you guys?
Feels weird to still be alive. By all the odds.
For me, it's, kind of yes and no, because so much of it has gone by like in a flash. And then I think about something we did 5 years ago and it feels like a really long time ago to me. So it's like a weird, it's one of those weird things where you look back over almost 20 years and certain things are going to jump out at you and feel like they were yesterday.
Of course. So obviously this whole podcast is about music, and I usually like at the start of these podcasts to go through each of the guests and ask about how they got into music. But in the interest of time and with 3 folks I'm chatting to, I'm going to go back to the start of the band, if that works. So I guess if I'm correct, Barry and Chase, the band started with you guys, and then Matt, you joined next. Is that correct? At least if I'm going off the Wikipedia timeline, that is. So I guess, how did Joyce Manor come to be? What was the inspiration for this band actually forming and saying, let's make some music?
Well, it's interesting because Chase and I did start the band called Joyce Manor, but a lot of the early songs were from bands that Matt and I were in prior to Joyce Manor. So we had a couple bands beforehand that would last for a few months, and then I'm still pretty hard to deal with, but I was really hard to deal with back then. And so bands would break up like after we played a couple shows, and I would just lose interest in things quickly. So Matt and I have been playing music together for 20 years now.
I think Joyce Manor is our 5th band together.
Oh. Yeah, but wait, no, 22 years or something like that.
22 years, yeah.
We've been playing music for 22 years.
2008. So.
November 2008. So 18 years or whatever. So yeah.
But I guess, what was it about this band that sort of made you say, hey, this is the one that's going to keep on going? Like if you've had 5 bands sort of start and then not exactly flourish and keep going, what was it about Joyce Manor that sort of said, this is the one we're going to stick with?
Well, we had some friends whose bands were getting popular around us, and I kind of felt like I missed the boat, and I was like, damn, everyone else is going to be successful, and I'm just going to be a loser that works at Mimi's Cafe. And I was kind of bummed about that. And so, when I got a chance to start another band, I was like, there's a couple coattails around here. I really just got to grab hold of one and just get out of, and just really try to do something with my life. And a lot of that had to do with not changing the name of the band or breaking up the band, and so even when you would get that feeling to kind of implode or self-destruct, you had to just sleep on it and be an adult and emotionally regulate and not just like be a psycho. So yeah, that I'd say that.
Yeah, I think you get to a point, you get to an age where if you're gonna do a band, you feel like you should take it as far as you can. Like, not commercially, but just, like stick with it. And if you're gonna start a band at like 23, you're probably doing it because it's really important to you.
Yeah.
And I think between that and the chemistry that the three of us have playing with each other is also what set this band apart from the other bands.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that definitely makes a lot of sense, actually.
There was always kind of like it was always kind of something being like ever since the very beginning, like our first show went really well, and then we were getting other shows and starting to get more popular, and then we got a record on 6131, and then we got Asian Man, and then Epitaph. Like there's always been this little like bit of good news every 6 months that has made it like not difficult at all to keep this going ever. It's always been
Yeah.
like pretty exciting to this day. Like there's always you get some email where you're like, oh my God, like that's awesome. Like
Yeah.
I can't
The
believe it's
carrot on
still
the string
happening.
is just always in front of us.
Yeah.
I guess then it's also really nice to actually hear that you guys are actually still looking at every day, sort of like, hey, today's the day that something new and something cool could happen. Like, it's definitely not the sort of thing where you guys are taking it for granted. It's just sort of like, oh, hey, like we have new fans. They actually still like us. That's amazing. Like, that must feel sort of quite, I mean, validating, but also the fact that you're able to keep this whole music thing going and keep going for the love of it as well must be quite special, I guess.
Yeah. There's been some kind
Yeah.
of like like downer periods where stuff just feels kind of weird, or like maybe a record didn't live up to expectations of people around us, or sort of, and or maybe our own expectations and stuff. Like, but they've been really few and far between, like literally since the beginning of the band.
Yeah, it kind of surpassed expectations like right off the bat. So feels like you're kind of just stacking like little victory laps in a really nice way. Like,
We've been like victory lapping the whole time.
yeah, pretty much.
Stunning. And I guess sort of speaking of that sort of, the momentum and everything, like, in the early days of the band, there were like a lot of formative releases, I guess fittingly, including that split with Summer Vacation. Now there's a Mark Chen mention on the new record as well. So that's quite full circle. But, for you guys, like you sort of mentioned before, like going for like a record deal, going with like Asian Man over to Epitaph. When did it really feel like people were starting to take notice of Joyce Manor? Like, when was it that you sort of started realizing, hey, people are actually paying a bit more attention to us than, we ever thought they would?
I think it was like the first year of our band, honestly, like 2010, was when, like the Blogspot era was kind of in full swing, and people would just post like obscure hardcore 7 inches on their blog and people would download it. And so I think we kind of came up playing with a lot of hardcore bands locally, got signed to a hardcore label, and then we kept showing up on these like Blogspot things. And our shows in LA, like we would just play like 5 shows a month locally before we ever really toured. And they just kept getting bigger and bigger and more crazy. And then once we finally started touring, it felt like it had kind of spread to a lot of the country. Like we were playing really small shows, but they felt big and crazy to us at the time.
Yeah. We sort of started out like when we started out as acoustic, and that was kind of like to play with this band Andrew Jackson Jihad. Like it was basically like to play to their fans and make them like our band, and it worked like right away. Like our second show, there was people from that show singing along to the words to our songs, and I was just like, that was easy. And then I didn't expect that to go quite so well. But then like we sort of from there, like it sort of transitioned into more of like a pop punk thing. And then when we played with Summer Vacation, they were kind of doing this like early Summer Vacation was less pop punk and more kind of like, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, how would you describe it, Matt? Early
Just
Summer
really
Vacation.
catchy kind of. Yeah, I
It
don't
was,
know.
it was a little
It's like
it was a little bit like Gravity
emo.
Records, like San Diego
Yeah.
emo, like early 90s stuff.
Yeah, it was kind of heavy but it was catchy and anyway, so I was kind of like immediately like I don't want to do folk punk at all. I want to do that. Like, not that we were ever like full on folk punk, but we kind of leaned into that. I had some songs like that because I love folk punk, but because we were playing with Andrew Jackson Jihad, we kind of put those songs to the forefront. But once we played with Summer Vacation, I was like, I want to do like some emo slams and stuff, you know? So yeah, Summer Vacation were hugely influential in just kind of us sort of pushing things in that direction. And that's sort of why I think the first EP that has like 5 Year Plan and Chumped and Leather Jacket and stuff is a result of being super into Summer Vacation.
Amazing. And actually, it's also very fitting that you do mention Andrew Jackson Jihad, because I'm actually wearing an Andrew Jackson Jihad shirt at the moment as well.
Oh, sick.
Oh yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
That was completely unplanned, but it's very, very serendipitous, I guess. So as I said at the start, like, you know, I've been watching you guys for the last 14 years. Sadly, I've actually never managed to catch you guys live, because every time you guys have played Australia, I've been over in the States. So that's really frustrating. I keep missing you guys. But, you know, it's been really nice to watch this fan base grow a lot. And I guess, you know, you guys all feel very humble. So, and we sort of touched on it before, but that must feel very surprising, for lack of a better word. But how does it feel that, you know, after so long of doing this now, people still, for lack of a better word, still give a shit about Joyce Manor?
Crazy,
I think it's like
really cool.
Yeah,
I'm really grateful. Yeah,
been a bunch of great bands. Like there's been a bunch of great bands since we started. You know, like, and it's nothing to do with that the material isn't strong, or that they didn't put out great records. That just haven't really stayed in like the zeitgeist, or stayed in the conversation, or just like maintained any kind of like honestly being able to bring people out to shows to where they like kind of had to just decide to stop doing it like as much, you know. It's like I don't want to name names or anything, but it's like really great bands that, you know. So for whatever reason, and it's nothing to do with the fact that their like records aren't great. We've just been really lucky to where like our fan base has just continued to grow.
And speaking of things, you know, continuing, things growing and everything, I need to mention this new record that you guys have put out. Oh, sorry, I should say you guys are putting out. It's, as we record, it's not out yet, but by the time this episode goes out, it'll be out. So congrats on the new record. But I listened to it this morning, and it is really damn good. Like, you know, for anyone who likes Joyce Manor, and you know, they need to wrap their listening gear around this record, because it is a stunning piece of work. But I feel like I need to, you know, ask you guys, like, you know, 7 albums in, to borrow a journalist question, how do you keep it so fresh? Because this album sort of feels like it sort of feels like a return to that sort of exciting energy, like, you know, that sort of like real wide-eyed, we're making a first album sort of energy. Like, it feels catchy and it feels really exciting. I feel like I'm just going to keep, you know, heaping praise upon you guys. So let's go back to that question. How do you keep it so fresh after 7 albums?
How do we keep it so fresh, guys?
I mean, I think for this record, we dipped into some of our like really early influences, like Barry and I grew up being insane, huge AFI fans. And I'm like I love Tiger Army, and like I used to be really into psychobilly when I was younger. And so there's like some, you know, there's like rockabilly and shit on this record that I don't think would have had the guts to try on record 3.
I think we both got into later Tiger Army. Or you always liked later Tiger Army. I was not really familiar with Nick 13's Game in like 2007, but I recently realized that the Jerry Finn produced Tiger Army record is like,
it's amazing,
absolutely phenomenal. So I only recently got into that, and so getting into that I found really, really inspiring, and it's managed to kind of creep into our songwriting. And yeah,
I certainly hadn't expected Tiger Army to be sort of referenced in relation to a new Joyce Manor album. But now that you've said that,
they're a lifelong all-time band for me.
Oh yeah, they are a great band. Like truly, actually, I think after this chat, I need to go back and actually have a look at their discography again, because I haven't listened to them in a long time, and you're making me.
It'd be cool if you were like, I'm actually wearing a Tiger Army shirt right now.
As well, I'll take this one off, and there's another one underneath.
I'm actually wearing Tiger Army pants. Let me ask you this, Matt. What's that record called? I forget.
Music from Regions Beyond.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Afterworld. That song is. I could just listen to that song over and over again.
Yeah, it's great.
Don't put that on after 6 or 7 beers. Do not put that on around Joyce Manor because
Yeah, you're gonna hear the whole record.
yeah, we're gonna act foolish.
So basically, what I'm hearing is that Joyce Manor 8 will be a cover album of Tiger Army. So that sounds great to me.
That's kind of what we thought we were making, honestly. With all my friends at Soda Press and the Possum, we're like, this is just like really, really sounds a lot like Tiger Army.
Wow.
Both the Possum kind of started, but it almost was like comical. Like we were sort of like, we can't do this. And they're like, all right, it was kind of it was a push in a weird direction for sure, but it feels normal.
But we followed our heart.
We
didn't balk. We like that's what's in our heart, and that's what was moving to us and exciting to us, and we doubled down and did it. And yeah, people have responded really well to that song. So no one's been like, "What are you guys nuts?"
26-year-old us would not have had the guts to do anything like that.
Yeah, totally. We might have been a little bashful about doing rockabilly or psychobilly.
Because one question I always love to ask folks who release a new album is like, what does an album like this say about who Joyce Manor are in 2026? And I guess you're sort of like touching over there. Like there's a bit more confidence in there to actually sort of lean into those influences and to sort of like show who you guys are. But I guess apart from that confidence, what does this album sort of say about who the band is at this point in time?
I think the record is like, it has a sense of humor to it, and it's like fun and energetic. And I think that is like, even with like a lot of our peers, I think that's kind of like records I really like. I think that that's something that Barry's lyrics can have, and like even just like the musical choices are not super like brooding or like serious. Like I think that there's like, like having like a psychobilly riff, or even just having cars kind of like synth stuff. Like I feel like they're bold and not necessarily like just kind of what the song needs. And I feel like it represents the music we like. And I think that's what this record makes me feel like.
I think we did some bold stuff. It's bold. It's pretty bold. I think like we went full Smash Mouth on a song. We went full Blink-182 on a song. We went full Tiger Army on a couple numbers. Like I don't know any other bands ever that have attempted all of those things on one record. So I think it's pretty bold, and it's very indicative of our music listening, and I hope, and I think Brett did a really good job producing the record and kind of making all those things sound like Joyce Manor.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, I can definitely recommend to anyone who might be listening to this. I have no clue how large my fan base is. It's certainly smaller than the Joyce Manor fan base. So I'm going to be saying to that small amount of people, goddamn, go and listen to this new Joyce Manor album, because it's a stunning piece of work. And I guess from here, I should get down to the portion of the podcast in which its namesake is derived. So the Trusty Chords podcast sees me follow the 1, 3, and 5 structure of a standard chord. So I ask you guys about 1 artist that's been impactful, 3 albums that have been influential, and 5 songs you can turn to. It's a hell of a wordy gimmick, but I've been doing it for 2 years and I'm determined to make it work. So I guess I'll go through each of you guys and sort of ask this question. And I guess, Chase, I might start with you since you are the first one on my little list of Zoom people here. So who would be the one artist that has been most impactful for you?
Recently Barry got me really into Dear Nora. I think that's something that kind of it's like a later, like that's kind of like the past like maybe 5 years for me, but I think like Katie's guitar playing is unreal. Their songwriting is unreal, and I think that there's like you can get so much mileage out of that whole of their whole discography. I think it's all really a good listen.
Actually, that's also very fitting because, funnily enough, Sean from AJJ actually recommended Dear Nora to me a few years ago. So
awesome.
it's all coming full circle, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
We spent a lot of time with those guys.
Oh yeah, they are great guys.
Sean does a good AJJ cover, or sorry, a good Dear Nora cover.
I think he used to cover "Hung Up" quite a lot, if I'm correct.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the one.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, Sean and Ben are stunning guys. I'm very keen to actually get them on this podcast at one point if a new album arrives.
Actually, some of my favorite people ever, and have been like
absolutely.
so supportive of us over the years, and we still play shows with them all the time, and it's just like they're like family. I love those guys.
Yeah. I'm sure we could talk for hours about how great those guys are, but we probably should get back to the topic at hand. So I guess Barry, I'll ask you. Who was the one artist that's been most influential to you over the years?
No, most influential artist. It's either Rivers Cuomo or Morrissey. Honestly, those are like the two things I've listened to the most. Um, I've been a Morrissey super fan since like ninth grade. I was like obsessed with AFI, and Jade would wear like Morrissey shirt, and my parents had Smith's best of the Smiths on CD. So I just went and listened to my parents' copy. I thought it sucked. I thought it was really weird. It sounded like carnival music to me, or like Renaissance fair music. I thought it opened with William, It's Really Nothing, and it was like, and I just didn't get it at all. But then I was watching. My parents had digital cable, and there at the very end of the channels, there was a couple like radio stations, and there was like an alternative rock one, and they played "Every Day Is Like Sunday" by Morrissey, and it like exploded my mind. I couldn't believe how good it was, and it just resonated with me so much. I can remember it being kind of like this like slow motion moment of listening to it and just kind of being like, oh shit, like this is like a defining moment in my life, kind of. Like, I know that sounds insane, but I remember exactly where I was, what the TV looked like, and just being like, I've been looking for this my whole life. I mean, my whole life I was like fucking 13 years old, so like I didn't really have much of a life, but it was huge for me, and I've been like pretty much obsessed with listening to Morrissey ever since then.
Truly amazing choice, and also a very good song to have your life impacted by as well.
Yeah, just the fucking way it made me feel. It just knocked me out. Yeah.
And Matt, what about yourself? Who'd be the one artist that's been most impactful for you?
I think so. I was going back and forth between the Weaker Thans and the Mountain Goats, and I think for one that I mean I've gone back to both of them over and over for 20 plus years, whatever. But I've been listening to some of my favorite Mountain Goats records recently, and I think he just had like the most incredible run from like the late 90s until I don't know, maybe 2012, and then there's good stuff after that too, but he put out like 6 or 7 records in a row that are just, to me, like so good front to back. Lyrically,
where do you think it starts?
musically.
Where does the run start for you? Like Tallahassee? Or...
No, West Texas is before Tallahassee. Okay. And there's good stuff before that too, but I think that's when he really started like he kind of perfected the like boombox demo recording style, and then kind of went into like the We Shall All Be Healed like transition. Tallahassee's an incredible record, and then from there he just kind of like hit a stride, and his songs are amazing.
Oh, truly. Actually, I mean, I've already talked about how I'm wearing, Andrew Jackson jihad shirt, Tiger Army pants. I've got the Mountain Goats tattoo on my wrist here. So I've clearly found my people here.
Another band that AJJ used to cover.
Exactly right.
Going to Georgia,
yeah. I think Going to Georgia was on their live EP they did. I'm Getting Nerdy. So the next question I do have for you guys.
Matt and I were probably at that show. Sorry.
Yeah, straight up.
Yeah.
In the interest of time, we probably don't need to go as deep with all these, but I'd love to know, like, for each of you guys, like, I'd love to know 3 albums that have been impactful for you, whether it be something you're always throwing on or integral to the evolution of your musical taste. So, Chase, would you like to go on this one, or if you haven't got any off the top of your head, I can switch around.
I could do at least 2. Enema of the State was kind of first, like, just like absolutely like from start to finish, and first time I really noticed production and stuff as a kid. Even though I didn't know what it was, I was just sort of like, well, this sounds good. And then B1000, when like started listening to that around like 2009, I want to say, and that kind of blew my mind. Like at that age too, I think I was like around 17 or 18. And that's all I can think of at the top of my head.
Early Joyce Manor days, yeah.
There is just so much in Rob Pollard's discography. It's so hard to sort of pick one record that he's put out, but B1000 is it's a pretty good starting point, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, this record, Point at the Sky, is that what it is? Play Joshua?
Yeah. Point to the Sky.
Yeah. Point to the Sky. that's like a local band that like that was pretty awesome and huge. I never got to see them like in their original iteration, but that was like that was some really mind blowing stuff for me as a kid too.
Some very good choices, and one I'm excited to actually look into a little bit as well. Barry, what
Yeah,
about
if you can
you?
find it.
Yeah,
It's on
I'll do my
YouTube.
best.
It was
Yeah.
recorded poorly by Pat Enzor, our old drummer's brother.
Yeah.
He recorded that really bad, but it's awesome. I'm gonna pick my three favorite records. These are my three favorite records. I have the most boring taste in music of anyone on earth. And here it goes. Number one, the White Album by the Beatles. Number two, London Calling by the Clash. And number three, Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys.
I mean,
If
they're
you
all
could just
classic for a
really-
reason.
Yeah, but come on, man. That's like, yeah, it's so basic, There's but
Oh, look,
those are the three. Those are the
It's
three
basic.
for me. If I had
It's
to,
basic, but it works.
if I had to take those, if I had to be on a desert island, I would take those.
Great choices. And Matt, what about yourself?
Okay, so these are not like three all time, but these are three that I've revisited recently and really enjoyed. Promise Ring, Nothing Feels Good, which is it is one of my all time favorites, and I really love Davey Von Bolen's songwriting, and I think he has like a loose kind of playful quality to his songs that I think really heavily impacted the Cap'n Jazz stuff. That isn't really I think it's just like maybe a little bit overlooked is like his sensibility that he kind of had with Cap'n Jazz. And then second one, John Cale, Paris 1919, which it's like his most kind of traditional like orchestral pop record, but it's just like insane front to back. It's so fucking good. And then the Sidekicks, Awkward Breeds, who
Nice.
they came up like they were around before us, but they were like the first band from our kind of scene that had like really intricate vocal harmonies and like really interesting arrangements. And then you'd go and see them live and they would absolutely fucking blow the roof off and like
so good.
just like play the
Yeah.
songs perfectly with so much passion and energy. And it was like
Yeah.
in 2012
I just scratched the fuck out of my copy of it the other day.
Bummer.
Sorry.
it was just like so it was so inspirational to see them live back then. Incredible band.
Truly. And once again, full circle, the only time I ever saw them supporting Andrew Jackson Jihad. So
There you go.
Nice.
Oh,
That's
sick.
a gig.
now I've only got a couple minutes left. So my final question for you guys, I'd love to know 5 songs you could each turn to. But I guess before I actually do that, I should say I've had one person on this podcast before actually pick a Joyce Manor song for this segment. And of course they picked Constant
Nice.
Headache. But I mean,
It was Paul McCartney.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Paul McCartney is a huge fan of of the Self-Titled record.
Nice.
Yeah, great choices. But look, I can't blame him. What a song that is. But I guess for each of you, I'd love to know 5 songs that you could always turn to, your trusty songs, if you will.
Okay, we'll do Save It for Later. I think that's an amazing song.
English beat.
Two of Us. Oh yeah, sorry. Save It for Later, English beat. Two of Us by the Beatles. I love that song a lot. Yeah, hard to. Man Overboard, Public 182. I think that's another great song. Case of You by Joni Mitchell. I think that's amazing. And I can't think of a fifth, but you guys take it over.
Yeah, if you guys want to take over, if you think of a 5th one, feel free to jump back in.
Okay. I got Tenderness by General Public. Beautiful Child by Fleetwood Mac. Jealous Guy by John Lennon. Spanish Bombs by The Clash. And the last one, oh gosh. I'll do Brave as a Noun by AJJ.
I'm so glad that we finally had a podcast in which the Mountain Goats are mentioned, AJJ is mentioned. I'm very glad this podcast has happened.
We love folk punk. We're folk punk guys.
Of course. And Matt, what about yourself?
So I It's funny. I wrote down two in a row that had an Irish flavor, and I didn't even realize I was doing it. But the Pogues' "Sunny Side of the Street,"
Mm.
Phil
Yeah.
Lynnett's "Old Town," which we all love so
Oh,
much.
yeah, that's a great one. Yeah.
So good.
That'd be
Squeezes
my
"Up the
favorite.
Junction."
Oh yeah, beautiful song.
Not to get too Australian on you, but "Stand and Stare" by Royal Headache,
Oh man.
and then
All-time.
the Exploding Hearts "Throwaway Style."
Yep.
These are some brilliant, truly brilliant choices. Truly stunning songs,
Totally
actually.
like.
And I mean, I think that there's only a couple that we mentioned today that I haven't actually heard of, so I'm excited to delve into them. But before I wrap up, I should ask Chase: do you think of a fifth one, or did you want to end it at 4?
Best ever death metal band out of Denton is one of my favorite songs ever.
Yeah.
Not to
Great.
mention Malagans again, but
All right.
yeah.
Well, I think this is easily my favorite choices in the history of this podcast. So this is where I should.
Yeah, we're
end
speaking
it.
your language.
This is where I should end it by saying, Matt, Barrett, and Chase, I want to thank you all so very much for being on this podcast today, and of course, thank you for your time. I'm very, very glad to have the chat, and also to be hearing the new album as well.
Hey, I appreciate it. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much.
chatting with us.
Great chat.
Thanks, Tyler.
Thank you for listening to Trusty Chords. If you listened to this episode and enjoyed it, I would really appreciate it if you were able to take a few moments to like, follow, share, and review this podcast on your preferred platform of choice. As always, there's no obligation to do so, but considering that it helps the podcast's reach, I'm forever grateful if you do. Of course, I'm over on Instagram and Facebook at Trusty Chords Podcast, all one word. I've also got the blog on my website, which is tylerjenke.com, that's tylerjenke/Trusty Chords Podcast, all one word. That's where you can find a list of all the songs chosen by my guests each week, along with a playlist of all the songs chosen thus far. You can also find a link to the Buy Me a Coffee platform where you can throw me a few dollars to keep this podcast running if you feel so inclined. I also need to thank Matt, Barry, and Chase for spending their time with me this week for the podcast, and to Dave from Diamond Creative for helping to organise the chat too. But once again, thank you kindly for listening, and I hope to see you all again next week as I continue to celebrate music and those that create it.